Me and Kathy are both shellfishermen. And even with our combined incomes, we could not afford to rent a house. The houses are going for anywhere from 12 to, I don't know, last time I looked, $1,500 a month, plus utilities.
We never planned for our lives to be this way. This is just what was dealt to us. Because you can't find a 4-bedroom home in the newspaper for a rent that's under $2,000. And we can't even afford that. We're lucky if we could afford a 2-bedroom for $1,250. That's what it is. That's what you find in the paper, is a 2-bedroom for $1,250, not a 4-bedroom. We can't consume that much money in rent.
I have a master's degree, and I never thought that I wouldn't be making enough money to live. However, Cape Cod is not exactly a cheap place to live.
The husband is employed, and the wife was employed, and they both had what we would consider good jobs, and they were working on having a family, and she had complications of her pregnancy and had to take early maternity leave, and her paid maternity leave ran out. And they were okay for a couple of months, and then we received the phone call that without her income, and you know, she was planning on going back to work, she had it all in place. Mom was going to take care of the baby while she worked, but without that added income for so many months, it put them in jeopardy.
What I have is I have 20 units that I make available on a week-to-week rental basis. It is affordable. It's $150 a week. It provides, for some it gives a full kitchen, for others it gives a refrigerator, microwave, the option of 3 beds in the room. We don't charge for the additional head in the room, so if it's a family of 3 or if it's one individual, it's still $150 a week. Do I get the strong idea that the majority of them would stay year-round with me if we could? Sure, they would.
I don't think there's any way that I could afford any house. My next step would probably be the shelter in Hyannis.
This is our second time being here for the winter. This is not our first time around. We've also been through the family shelter program, the homeless shelter program for families, twice. This is not something new. This is something that we live every day because we can't afford a rental. They're too expensive.
Some of them move into specific summer-only rental cottages, you know, that have no heat, you know, stuff that they can't rent out. They'll seek some of those. Some of them live at Nickerson State Park for the summer.
I was lucky enough a couple of years ago to be able to purchase a camper. And what I am doing is I have it in Eastham at Atlantic Oaks. I live in that in the summertime, and I have friends that go to Florida in the wintertime, and I watch their house.
You know, of pay scales where we can't afford to pay the kind of money that they need to live here. Even rent here. Some of the rental rates are more than some mortgages.
In that we see a lot of low-income or even affordable housing for elderly people. And in turn, that is creating a greater demand for our services, for fire and rescue services, especially on the rescue side. But we don't have the people available and don't have a place for them to live to be able to handle that type of demand.
If we had an incident, a major incident, that we had to pool people in from all our employees, we only have 12, we'd be waiting for hours because most of our folks live up Cape now. The chief complaint of our employees is that they just can't afford to live here in housing and cost of living. And those two elements really have impacted our workforce a lot.
These businesses such as ours are a service-oriented business, and they are done by young people who are providing services and things for our population, which is getting older every year. And these people obviously need a place to live. They need a place to stay here. The type of work they do isn't such that they make the kinds of incomes that will allow them to buy homes at normal rates that we have.
One of the biggest issues facing the school systems, I think, and I speak for the other school systems as well, is finding teachers, especially new teachers just out of college, who are interested in moving to the Cape, or even young people who are interested in staying here, and being able to find a place to live.
Hardly anybody can afford to live here anymore, and as a result, the young people are leaving the Cape in droves. It's amazing. I would say 95% of the Harwich High graduation class will never work here. And the other thing that I see is the stock of affordable housing is falling quickly. And you can't really blame somebody. If you had a house that was worth 5 times what you paid for it, would you rent it out or would you sell it? Put the money in your pocket.
Affordable housing is the single most important public policy issue that Provincetown faces as a community right now, because the lack of affordable housing threatens our very existence as a community, as a year-round community where folks can live. Jobs is part of it. Transportation is a key, but sort of the focal point is the need for places to live.
The unfortunate or the downside circumstance would be that services would continue to deteriorate to the point where people would no longer want to move here, or the real estate market wouldn't be as robust or desirable, and so the cost of living would go down.
I started living in a fire station, and then when I got married, I moved to an apartment, and then I was able to then move to a house. And that progression doesn't seem to be a real viable mode here on the Cape right now.
You don't want people who only work in your community but have no other investment. What about the teacher who might have to drive 60 or 80 or 100 miles to get to their school? What's going to happen when it snows? What's going to happen with after-school activities? Or the firefighter or the cop who has to put an extra hour or 2 hours of driving every day because they can't afford to live here? How is that going to affect their performance, their feeling about their job, their devotion to the community? We want people who are working in our community to live in our community. They're part of it. That's what makes Cape Cod special. It is still a small town kind of place. And if we don't provide the affordable housing, we're just going to become a community of transients, both those who have second homes here and those who only work here but have to live someplace else.